I know, it's been a while. I'm very late with this video. A lot of stuff happened. But because we're a little bit late this time, we can actually talk about the entire starter deck or trial deck for Dark States, because now basically every card of the trial deck has been revealed except for one card, which I think is gonna be a vanilla card. But also on top of that, we know the release date for Deer Days. And yes, they confirmed a worldwide release date, which means we in the English format are gonna probably get a sneak peek at some future sets.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and it's been a long while, so let's catch up a little bit and let's talk about the new Dark States boss unit from the trial deck, including every support cards around it from said trial deck, so we have a better understanding of what this archetype can do or playstyle, and also have a glimpse of what the next evolution of Vanguard is going to bring to us, as this gives us a better idea of what we have to work with. So first off, let's discuss the ride line, and that brings us, of course, with the new starter, which is Julius Drago Kit. And it's a generic starter, so we can immediately move on. Now, moving on to the grade 1 of the ride line, we've got Dual Core Dragon. And this grade 1 has the effect, although when this unit is rode upon by Demonic Stone Dragon Jewel Neil, aka the grade 2, call this card to the rearguard circle. So it's a 3+1, it costs 1 from soul, which honestly is fine, and in some situations really good, because if you went second, this allows you to aggro a bit, because either you can call behind the Vanguard for great boosting power so they cannot guard your Vanguard attack, or call to the side and start rushing your opponent a bit. And the reason why you can do either way is because of its second effect, which is continuous on rearguard circle. When this unit attacks or boosts, this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of the battle. At the end of the battle, put this unit into your soul. This effect is mandatory. So it's a 13k booster or attacker. So a 13k attacker, or it makes your Vanguard column 23k. So it's gonna force a lot of shield from your opponent's hand, which is really good for early aggro. And the fact that it goes back to the soul, it's honestly really good, because we're going to need it in the soul. But you're gonna see that in a second. So overall, this grade 1, a really good ride line grade 1. Now, if we move up to the grade 2, we've got Demonic Stone Dragon Jewel Neil. And Jewel Neil has the effect, auto Vanguard the rearguard circle. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, soul charge 1. So this is a nice combo with the grade 1, because making a 23k column means it's really hard for your opponent to guard in the early stages unless they want to waste a perfect guard or a lot of shield value. So there's a highly likely chance that this effect will go through, thus giving you a free soul. But then it also has the effect, although when this unit is rode upon by a unit with draw jeweled in its card name, soul charge 1, and if your soul has 3 or more cards with different grades, draw a card. So this might sound a bit awkward of the condition to draw a card, but you will always have that condition, because by just writing into your grade 3, when this skill will activate, you will basically have the grade 0, the 1 and 2 in your soul, thus having 3 different grades, so you get 1 extra soul charge, and you draw a card, which honestly is perfect, because that means just by writing you get a free soul and a free draw on top of that, which honestly is a pretty decent ride line effect if you ask me, especially in combination with the grade 1 that just pops it out, have a 13k booster attacker that then immediately goes back, so it circumvents control options, which honestly is pretty damn solid. But then we get to the big boss monster himself, the new grade 3 unit, and then it really shows what this archetype is trying to do, because here we have Jewel Embracing Dragon Fang Drajeweled, and Drajewel has the effect continuous. When this card would be rode upon, it also regarded as Demonic Jewel Dragon Drajeweled, and that means it has the same effect as the one from the Cater Sanctuary deck, where you can write the new grade 3 from the set and still get the Persona Ride clause. So this is a really great setup with that other grade 3, so you can put this in your ride line, and either you write into another copy of him, or you're going to write in that other grade 3. So it increases the consistency of gaining your Persona Ride effect, which honestly is always going to be really good. But then it also has the effect, auto Vanguard circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, costs Soul Blast 4 cards with different grades, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, and until the end of turn, increase or decrease its power to 1, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets critical plus 1. Power at that time becomes 1 and can increase or decrease afterwards. So essentially, for my OG boomer Vanguard players out there, this is essentially Dust reimagined, as it's Very similar to Dust, only it doesn't shoot a damage, but it getting extra critical can somewhat be an homage to the getting the extra damage. Now, Soul Blessing 4 cards with different grades might sound a bit tricky, but as we already established, having 3 different grades isn't that hard. So the only thing you need to do is get a grade 3 in the Soul. And with all the soul charges in Dark States, it might not be really that unbelievable to think that you can pull it off on your very first grade 3 turn. But with the new support cards in this trial deck, that's actually going to be very consistent, but you will see that in a second. So this honestly is already really good. By turning your opponent's Vanguard to one power means they need to overguard against your attack quite a lot. And they're going to be forced, especially during a Persona right turn, because that means everything's going to hit like a truck, and your Vanguard coming with criticals and all the other shenanigans that Darkseid has access to. This can be quite devastating. But the interesting thing is that some people might overlook. This can negate overtriggers, because if you attack with your Vanguards first and they hit an overtrigger, you can attack with your Vanguard and reset their power to 1, negating the 100 million power of the overtrigger. Also, it can negate any other defensive triggers, which honestly is pretty damn spicy depending on how you can interact with this. So I think this effect can be very powerful and very potent in the right circumstances, and I'm very curious on what the other version of the Grade 3 is gonna do, because I have an inkling of a suspicion that it's gonna have a similar cost and somewhat of a similar effect, but then turn up to 11. And the reason why I think that is because this Grade 3 also has a Rearguard Circle effect, which is continuous Rearguard Circle. If you Soul Blast 4 or more cards at the same time for the cost of your card's ability this turn, this unit gets power plus 5k. So it becomes an 18k beater or 28k during a Persona return if you Soul Blast 4 for a specific cost. Now this can synergize with himself, so you can call him to the Rearguard Circle, or it can synergize with any other card that Soul Blast 4 on the get-go. It could synergize with Bruce. I'm not saying it's a good synergy with Bruce, but that's the thing to consider. Now, that also gives me the suspicion that the other version of himself will still Soul Blast 4, thus allowing it to synergize with that if you Persona right into that one, having a 28k beater to the side to whatever other shenanigan it's going to do, which probably will still Soul Blast an X amount of specific grades, as the whole gimmick is around those specific grades. Now, you might think to yourself, how is it going to be consistent enough that you can pull this off every single turn? Besides the generic soul charging we have access to, we do have some new consistency card that can also work in Dark States in general. So let's take a look at those cards. So first up, we have a brand new supporting grade 3, which is Trakrane's Raider. And Trakrane's Raider has the effect on a Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Jeweled in its card name, which will include both grade 3s, cost counter plus 1, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of that battle. At the end of the battle, put this unit into your soul. So this can be a 23k beater that then goes into the soul, thus fulfilling the grade 3 condition that you need on your very first grade 3 turn to fulfill the Soul Blast 4 effect. So this is already a way to increase that missing grade 3 consistency. So that already is pretty decent. But we have other options, as we also have this grade 2, which is Mystic Accordionist, and this grade 2 has the effect, although when this card is discarded from your hand during your right phase, you may put this card into your soul. So this allows you to put an extra card in the soul, thus negating the discard cost. Now this is less good because it specifically needs to be discarded for the right phase, thus meaning you can only activate on the very first 3 turns, as after you reach your grade 3, you can no longer fulfill this condition. So this is just a gimmick card for the trial deck, but it's still a thing that can come up in some games. Now, moving beyond that, we have a brand new grade 1, which is Avid Heaper, which has the effect on a Rearguard Circle. When this unit boosts a grade 2 or greater unit, you may soul charge 1. So this is just good soul charging for every single turn. So this can find its way in a lot of decks if you want to go this route. And this can definitely work for the trial deck, as well as you can put it behind the Vanguard on turn 2 to also pressure more behind the Vanguard on hit effect. Now, beyond that, we also have a grade 1, which is Direful Dull Cestine, which has the effect, act on Rearguard Circle once a turn. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost counter plus 2 and draw a card. Now this is a very trial deck like card because it's pretty overcosted for the effect, so we're probably not gonna play this moving beyond the trial deck, but at least it gives some draw power to this trial deck straight out of the box. And so far these cards haven't really been that spicy, except for the grade 3 being a bit interesting for counter plus 1, getting 10k power and putting itself into soul within the condition. But let's talk about some other cards that are, in my opinion, the real deal here. So first off, we have a great one, which is Campaign of the Deepening Darkness Lin. And Lin has the effect, auto, when its unit is placed in the rearguard circle, look the 2 cards from the top of your deck, choose a card from among them, put it into your soul, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck. So this is essentially deck filtering for specific soul charges. It's almost reminiscent of Cater Sanctuary or Oracle Think Tank of the Scryer effect, but then going to the soul. And honestly, that's good enough, because that allows you to get the grades you need in your soul to keep fulfilling the condition for your Vanguard's effect. So this is already pretty decent. But then we also have a new grade 2, which is Ultrasound Shriek. And Shriek has the effect, although when its unit is placed in the rearguard circle from hand, cost Counterblast 1, look the 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose a card from among them, put it into your soul, shuffle your deck, and if your soul has 4 more cards with different grades, draw a card. Again, a really good card, because for 1 Counterblast, we not only scry the top 3 to selectively put a card into soul, thus filtering our deck, but then also on top of that, there's a highly likely chance that you will get an extra draw of it, which already is equivalent to the cost of a Counterblast. So this honestly is a really solid card for Dark States that can honestly be put in any Dark States deck that soul charge quite a lot, like a Barrow Magnus, Chaos even, and maybe even Bruce to some extent. But then we also have a grade 1, which in my opinion goes above and beyond for the Drud Jewel deck, because unlike the other cards that are very generic, this one isn't, but it's amazing for Drud Jewel, because we have one who beckons Heavy Thunder, Fulgress. And Fulgress has the effect, although when its unit is placed in the rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Drud Jeweled in its card name, cost Soul Blast 1, choose a card from your drop, put it into your soul, and this unit gets power plus 2k until the end of turn. So this allows us to selectively put a card from our drop into the soul. And then on top of that, it also becomes a 10k booster or attacker, which just complements everything on top of that, which honestly is pretty good. But you might think to yourself, now this doesn't add soul, because we need the soul list one, and then we can put anything from the drop into the soul. But the great thing about this is that this basically turns any card that you don't need in your soul in a specific card that you want in your soul. This can be specific grades that you're missing. So let's say, for example, you soul charge a duplicate grade that you don't need. Then with this card, you can fix that and get the grade in your soul from your drop that you're going to need. And because you're going to soul blast those grades anyways, they will always be accessible in your drop, so you always have fuel for this particular card. But on top of that, as soon as we're talking about Dark States, there might be, and I'm not really familiar right now at the top of my head, if there are cards that do something while they're in your soul, but it wouldn't really be that weird to think that sometime in the future we will get cards that have effects while they're in the soul, so using this card to keep shoving them back into the soul, for maybe they can pop themselves out during the battle phase, or they can give your Vanguard extra abilities or powers. This is a card that allows you to put those cards into your soul over and over and over again, which might have some premium applications if they will come up. I'm not sure if that will be the case, but the fact that this card exists is pretty damn good. So overall, the Drud Jewel deck for Dark States looks pretty interesting. Now, the mechanic isn't really mind-blowing as we see with Cater Sanctuary, which has an own keyword and has like superior riding and persona riding and all this type of evolution forms and whatnot, but the Soul Blast specific effect is pretty interesting, and the fact that it has a dust-like effect on top of that makes it very powerful and a lot of potency, and depending on what this other grade 3 version has in store for us, this might be a really powerful deck that might go under the radar of some players because it doesn't feel as flashy as some other decks. But the fact that it can negate an overtrigger is something to say, as seen as overtriggers are a bane of the existence of a lot of card fighters. So this might be the saving grace of those players that have seen a bit too much overtriggers in their days. But those are all the card reveals. Now, I already told us in the intro that we also know something about Dear Days. Because yes, we finally know the release date of Vanguard Dear Days, and that's going to be, surprisingly enough, not in December, but in November, or more precisely, November the 17th. So it's actually quite fast. I honestly thought it was going to be more closely to Christmas, but this is honestly a pretty nice date, as that's like, what, 2 months from now? And they also revealed that this is going to be a global release date, so not only for Japan, we in English also will get it on that same day. That means we're probably going to get like 2 sets in advance, or like 3 sets in advance that we don't even have access to with the physical cards that will be accessible in the digital game. So I would recommend, if you're interested in playing the game and as well want to try out these new cards, then Cardfight Deer Days is probably the game for you to get during this holiday season, as it's looking to be pretty spicy and there's a high likely chance they'll also grab a copy on it, and maybe we'll stream it on Twitch or whatnot, depending on how much time I have on my hands. But now we know 17th of November is going to be the release date, and surprisingly enough, they're going to use the same UI as they use in Vanguard EX. And honestly, that UI was looking pretty clean, so I'm completely fine with them doing that, especially since it's also on the Switch. So yeah, now I'm very curious of what the actual card pool is going to look like and what the details around the game is going to be. But that's something we have to wait and see for next time. Well, with that said, I'm very curious what you guys think of these new card reveals. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts about the new Dark Stage Trial Deck and Jeweled. Also, are you excited for Vanguard Deer Days? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by lovely patrons over at patreon.com/insider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/insider and become a patron today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap. See you guys in the next one!